Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Decisions Lunch and Learn. I'm going to be your host for today, Gregory Goldston of the Decisions Training Team. Let's go over the stuff you see on your screen right there. First and foremost, at the bottom, you're going to see Submerse. That's going to be next week, and it's going to be a meeting, or rather, an event that you can sign up for that will walk you through how to build in Decisions with the basic designer entities, but tackle a more advanced project in doing so. It's going to be instructor led from 9 to 5, and it's going to have an hour break each day. That instruction is going to walk you through the building of our document routing project, a little bit more advanced than the purchase request one that we typically do. Highly recommend signing up for it if you're looking for something a little bit more advanced, or if you're new, we still cover all of the basic designer entities, and I'm sure that you'll be able to get a wonderful crash course on just how complex and, well, how varied this application is. We'll be able to handle anyone that has come before, as well as be able to teach people that are brand new here. So I highly recommend signing up at decisions.com/training to sign up for that Submersed series of events. So that's November 10th through the 13th, Monday through Thursday. In our top right over there is going to be a QR code to our Decisions Training YouTube channel. It's going to take you to a channel. It's going to have a bunch of different kinds of videos on all different sorts of topics in the product, such as how to set up design patterns, how to templatize logic, how to work with managing variables across multiple environments, and a whole lot more. So highly recommend checking that out. Below that, we have our Decisions Solutions Marketplace, which is going to be a location where you can import projects into your environment, be able to utilize them and implement them into your own processes. We have the ticket generation, we have AI Fuzzy Finder, we have so much more. Loan origination app, that's another one. So I highly recommend checking that out if you're curious to get your hands on some of those projects. And then the last thing I'm going to cover below is going to be the Decisions Product Roadmap Review, which is a series of meetings that goes over different features coming in the pipeline for Decisions. It's going to give you an overview of, sorry, not an overview. It's going to give you detailed view, rather, of these new features, give you an understanding of what's coming to Decisions, and if you're curious to get an idea of how those features can be used in the product, or if you want to see what's just coming out new, highly recommend signing up at decisions.com/events. With that being said, I think it's time that we get into our Q&A session. So I'm going to swap over now to my decision screen, start addressing y'all's questions. So give me a moment. And this is the screen that I want. Yeah, there we go. All right, we are inside of the Monday L&L project, and anytime I switch over, you know what that means. It means I have to bring up my Q&A once again because it closed all my participants. Give me just a moment while I do that. Okay, here we go. All right, so our first question is from Jeff, which is asking, looking for information on the step outcome of pass-through. That's an interesting one. How is it different from rename? Yeah, so hold on. I'm going to allow you to talk here real quick. Let me confirm the details on that, but I'm pretty sure the rename is what creates a variable, whereas pass-through allows you to just have another variable that exists that gets sent through that. Let me confirm that real quick, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Create data step is a great way to figure this out. We're actually going to use two of them. Let's go with one. Let's go with two. I'm going to test this right now.
Oh, hey,
Hey, yep.
this is Jeff. So the reason I'm asking is I found some flows where it looks like one of our developers thought that that was the preferred method for creating variables.
It's
So,
in most cases, it's not. I'll say there is a use case for it, but it's not a very common one. So let's try something here real quick. And let's confirm that this is. And then the last thing I want to do here Yeah. So now name new is Gregory. We have passed in, well, that makes sense because it's coming from name old, new name. Let me confirm something real quick on my end. When you're creating variables, you're usually using flow data or constants. That's generally how that happens, but it's not the only way. Give me a moment while I pull up something.
Okay.
Yeah, let me confirm that behavior with you.
Yeah, so interestingly, from my perspective, it seems at least in my case to still function correctly, meaning I end up with a variable with that value in it, but it doesn't show up in the data inspector.
Let's see. Yeah, all right. So the idea of pass through is that so it is similar to rename. It's kind of a similar idea, except that pass through exists only to pass data through that has the same name instead of creating a new piece of flow data. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So you're not creating two pieces of information anymore. Let me hold on. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So add item to list is going to be a great way to showcase this. So our original list will be a constant. It's just going to be blank. The new items are going to build an array. I'm going to pass in new name. And then this one's set to that. This one's set to pass through. Let's see if this functions how I think it will. And then name old. I don't think the name of the output will default to output when viewed in the flow and on the Data Explorer panel. So name old, name new. That's passed through. Let me save this real quick. So I guess this is creating data instead of creating a new piece over here. So for example, if I did this, if I did rename, here's a great way to show it. Let's say I rename this and I'm going to call this output one. Okay. And I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call it output two.
Okay.
All right. Notice that output one and output two exist right inside of the flow, right?
Yeah.
These are going to be information that's passed out. If I do pass through, all it's going to be taking is output one. And now I introduce new name here. I'm using create data, so this is getting passed through here. But if I were to not, say, example, this isn't a create data step where I'm creating information but passing it through. This is now not creating another variable inside of that flow. So you're kind of, on the one hand, you're conserving space, which is good. But on the other hand, you're also not explicitly naming this output to be used for later.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's very similar, but it's not quite the same. You're kind of restricting the addition of new information to your flow. Now, I don't, depending on the use case that you're, designing this for, it honestly may not make a difference. Like if he's using create data, as you can see here, you can pick whatever you call it up here, and it's not going to be a problem. But for other steps that you may want to pass through the information or rename it, that could affect what variable you have access to later in the flow.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, it was kind of the reverse. It wasn't about so much about how it's being created, but I was downstream in the flow I was troubleshooting and looking for where this variable was being created, and it's not showing up in Data Explorer.
Mm,
So
yeah, it wouldn't be if it's depending on where it's being created. So like if he had one data to create and called it something here, and then it was passed through, it wouldn't be calling the name of the output here, output one, right? It'd be calling whatever this data was being created. Or if
yeah.
it's fetching it from up here, like if you're inputting data somewhere else, then you're not going to be having any output for how it's processed by using pass through.
Okay. Yeah, I just needed to understand the concept because, for me, I was like, is this wrong and do I need to change this? So I might go back and do that anyways, just because the intent of the developer wasn't to use pass through.
Mm,
The intent was to create a new variable with a new value. So
yeah, that may be looking for a rename there just to more
yeah,
explicitly state that. By the way, I just dropped a link in the chat that goes over all those output mappings to compare them.
okay, I did see that.
All right,
So,
cool, cool, cool.
uh, thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. Absolutely. All right. Do we have any other questions? I guess not currently, so I will maneuver around a little bit while we're waiting. I did do a little bit more research now and found out that we have a, where is it? Wrong button. Where's our rule set? Is it rule table? Where's our rule table? Oh, did they not add it yet? I'm in an unstable build, so it may not be in here yet. But they added another AI generation for I believe the rule set. Or it could be the run rule set step. Let's test something. I don't think I have any. Oh, I do. Nice. If I open this, I know I can use the editor and AI here. I know that, but I'm not seeing it for what I was hoping I would see it for. That's fine. I'm not on the, again, the released build yet, so it may not have been added. But we should have some AI generation coming soon for some more rule options. We also have this. I'll find how to implement it. I haven't tried it yet, but there should be a Slackbot agent that got added when you are utilizing the Slack module. This one right here. Cloud-based collaboration platform. So we just got a new feature that got added to this. We should have view modes as well for statement rules. See if I can find one. Yep, there we go. We got our view mode for rules now. There we go. Look at that. Can't edit anything. Can't change any of the rule options over here. I can maybe format it, I guess. Nope, I can't even do that. It won't let me. So no changes can be made, but you can view it directly. So allowing multiple people to not break the lock on a designer entity that someone else is working on while still being able to see what's inside of it. And then there should have been a comparison tool that got added for pages. You're also going to notice this looks very different. We've updated the UI for both the page designer and the form designer. So it look a little more sleek. And then this is our compare tool. Yeah, here's our compare tool. So we've had this for flows for a long time, by the way, that allows us to compare different versions of the data with each other. And we get to see what that configuration would look like. Here, I'm going to expand them. So we get to see exactly what it is from one version to another and how our form or page was different. This was in rules for a long time. Now we have it added to pages and forms. So you're going to see our form designer is going to look a little bit different too. I go in here. Here's our new layout. Here's our new compare tool. Yeah. Let's see. Next question. In version 9, has any functionality been added to export or import a truth table into a file yet or to a document? I have not checked all enhancements yet. Let's see here. Let's give it a try. Why not, right? Do I have any truth tables? Let's see if we do. We have one external truth table. And if I right click it, that's probably not going to be a document. Yeah, that's just going to be the deck object. Do we have a run truth table option that would allow us to export it? That's the other thing I'm going to try real quick.
Yeah, we've got a couple of use cases for this, and so far, the best I can do is write a flow using the session editing object
Mm-hmm.
that loops through and spits out values. But I just wondered if you guys had added something that does that yet.
I've not been informed of it. As of I've been running I've been learning about the releases since like version 9.10, 9.9 maybe. And yeah, probably since 9.9, and we're about to release I don't want to say about, but I guess our next release is going to be 9.17. So I have not seen anything in that stint of time that has shown this. However, I'm still in the process of learning the new features and enhancements of 9.17, so I'm uncertain if that's a part of it. And I should know much more on Wednesday.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, I will gladly let you know if I figure that out. But I don't see any way directly in at least this unstable build of 9.17. Yeah. It shouldn't be in the designer. That wouldn't make any sense. It'd be something like this, like a run rule kind of thing. How you can like run a report and export as in file output. I'll see that here. Yeah. Okay. Okay. We'll keep looking. Okay. We're at 12:17. No additional questions yet. What else did we add? Then the comparisons. I've already shown that. I haven't shown it for forms yet, so I guess I can do that. Which one of these? Yeah, here we go. So I can compare this one to this one now, the last save version. And we can see that there's a lot of different information that's been changed from here to here. Here's our form information, the form rules that have been altered since then. This active form flow has been added in the last save version, didn't exist here. We can drop that down even further to see exactly what's been added within that. So a highly detailed view of every single change that's been made since the version you select over here to whatever version you select over here. It doesn't even have to be to the last save version. You can compare two older versions to each other. So we have a hide show checkbox that wasn't there originally. Highly recommend checking this out. And if you just want to expand all, you can do this. You can also choose just to show the changes so you don't see any duplicates. And that will allow you to be able to only filter by those things which have been updated in some way. So very cool functionality. What else? Frankly, I'm still kind of exploring the other stuff. So that might be our trip through 9.17 today. I also don't see any more questions yet. I'm gonna give it let's give it till 12:21. We did have someone new join, so okay. Yep. Dong Mei. I'm gonna allow you to talk. What you got?
Hi, hello. I have a very general question about the decision image management. Uh, we kind of like wonder what's the best way or the most popular way to manage the image in decision. We have some like for example, lots of logo for each department. Then we can put the use URL maybe to access the image or put all the logo in the decisions image library, or maybe put in the decision file directory. Or I know there are so many choice for us to do for decision. We want those images to put on form and email. So right now I'm thinking, I'm not sure which way is the best way to do that. So I just wonder if you have any suggestion or if there's any other place they have really good example to do that.
Yes, I'll be glad to go over that. So let's kind of break this up. So you're talking about images on emails and you're talking about images on forms, right? I'm going to
Yeah.
start with emails first because that's the simplest one. What I would recommend is going under manage, configuration, templates, and then you can specify email templates here. Each one of these is going to be an HTML document that is going to have its own setup for that particular customer you want to run it. So you could specify which image is supposed to be for which person, which template. And then whenever you send out an assignment or send email step, you can pick from that template directly, and it will automatically include that image. So
but inside that template, I have an image, let's say. So that image should come from a URL, right?
If you're doing it in this way, yes, because you would be setting it up as an HTML document, right? So you'd be referencing that image as HTML.
So it has to be a URL.
For the email template, yes. For the email template, yeah, you'd be referencing a URL.
But that URL can be point to decision itself, also can be point to outside decision, right?
It can point to outside decisions. As far as decisions itself, I'm not sure which part of the platform is purely designed for displaying images to the user outside of the less files. So let me confirm that portion as far as it pointing back to decisions. I'm not sure about that, but you can absolutely have it point externally to get that information. Now, in regards to what you're talking about with images that are stored for form, right? That's going to have the company's logo and colors and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I would recommend including it within the CSS of whatever you're setting up, which is under configuration template CSS. I would recommend adding it to the CSS of the document. And let me specify how this works. When you make CSS in Decisions, it is actually stored inside of the Decisions database. CSS documents are going to be database stored, and this is useful because you're handling a lot of information that doesn't need to change rapidly. CSS in general, you're not making constant updates to, right? You normally put it in, and it doesn't have a lot of configuration. That's why storing in the database isn't the worst idea for this. Now, I do want to clarify something, that storing other types of documents in the database may not be advisable because a lot of changes to large documents in a database, this is not decision specific, this is databases in general, can lead to database fragmentation a lot quicker. So that's going to impact performance. That's going to impact accuracy. You're going to want to make sure that you're not making constant updates to anything that you're storing in the database. Here's how Decisions handles this. Decisions takes the CSS file into the database and it splits it into two tables. One table has all of the info about the document, who created it, what the document's name is, all the metadata that's relevant to the document. And the other one actually just has the bytes. It has a bytes and it has a key that links to its information in the other table. All right. So it can always reference that and have information about the document. Now, by storing it in this way, it means that within your project, you have access to the CSS document anywhere. Anytime you create a form, anytime you create a page, anytime you see a CSS dropdown in one of your options on one of your designers that you're making over here, you are going to have the option to pick from any CSS that you save to your project. So this is a great way to have universal access to any document, as well as being able to make very quick changes. You can even, with this method, specify runtime CSS, which would mean that at the time of your flow executing, you no longer need to have multiple different like flows for this one runs this CSS, this one runs this CSS. You can simply fetch the CSS that is necessary inside of your project. So it looks like something like this. Say, make this database call. I need it for this customer, right? Get it here. And then you can pass it in dynamically to the same form. So you could have as many customers as you wanted. Let's just say 10 different customers seeing the same form, all with their own CSS based upon this criteria right here.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So when you're storing documents in that way, that is very nice for universality of being able to access this information inside of your project.
So that folder is CSS folder, so I can put image there, you mean?
Well, I would say that you would incorporate the image with the CSS, but that is correct.
Oh,
Yes, you can put an image inside of your CSS text. Now, if you're talking about dynamically fetching images, you can store. All right, let's talk a little bit about the other things that aren't documents. Okay. If
yeah.
you store an image as a document, it can be fetched, it can be retrieved, and it can be displayed inside of a form, just like CSS can. All right. It is not
Okay.
stored in the CSS table, it is stored in its own document table. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And this document is going to have it. Sorry, let me clarify. I messed up something here. There is no unique CSS table. That's my bad. It is a document table, and the document
Okay.
table is split up in the way I talked about before, info and
Okay.
bytes. All right.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
can store an image. You can't drop it in the same place you saw that CSS, but what you would do is you would create a document and then upload it to that table in decisions if you're trying to put it inside of the database. I would be
Mm-hmm.
careful about this, like I mentioned, because you are storing images in a database. And the more
Mm-hmm.
changes you make to large images in a database, the quicker it can lead to fragmentation. So I would be careful
Mm-hmm.
with this method. There are two other methods you can use for storing images outside of document. The two other primary methods, I should say. There are some other niche cases, but these are the other two primary methods.
Mm-hmm.
There is your file data,
Mm-hmm.
and then there is file reference.
Okay.
All right. File data, file reference. Now, file data does not have a native stored database table. The only way you can save file data is by creating a complex object with one of the
Mm-hmm.
fields being file data. I
Mm-hmm.
would not recommend this approach. I'm just letting you
Okay.
know that this is something that can be done because when you start storing large files, you don't have the same format of breaking up your image into bytes and info like you do in the document table. So this is not going to be the most performant way. It does mean
Mm-hmm.
that you always have an image associated with a record, which is what some people will do to take the trade-off. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
just looking for an image and you don't need a record with it, I do not recommend this method. The
Okay.
other option is file reference. File reference is the most performant method to retrieve files because it doesn't make a database call. It is stored on the local file system that Decisions is run against. So wherever you're keeping your file storage and Decisions is going to be where your file references are located. All right.
Okay.
This is by far the most performant way to store information for two reasons. One is because it is already going to be in a highly organized manner that this is stored. The way that it works is underneath of this file data folder, you're going to have some subfolders, okay? One of
Mm-hmm.
those subfolders is going to have a directory that is formed by the first digit and then the second digit as a subfolder of the first two numbers in the file reference. So if your file reference started with 01, you would look for the folder titled 0 here, and then 1 in the next one, and then you would find it inside of that folder right there. All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, it's on the file system, so it's very performant because file systems on your computer are designed to handle files. They're designed to handle images. So it's a more performant storage method than trying to put them in a database. So if you
Mm-hmm.
are looking for just having something that you can fetch very quickly in a very performant manner, file reference is the way to go. All right. File
Okay.
reference is the fastest and most performant way to do this. Document is not a bad option because document does have the ability to be fetched from the database, right? Everything's in the same table and you do have access to that immediately. Whereas some people also want it in the database because it could be a security risk for some people to have it on a file folder. They may not have
Mm-hmm.
the proper compliance to allow that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that those are your two best options, is storing it in the document table, which gives you very quick access to it, or store it in the file data table. It's not going to allow for as ease of implementation in the file data. Like you can still fetch it. It just takes a few more steps. but you can accomplish it with both methods.
Yeah, but can you show me where is those location? Like the CSS folder you just showed me, that one is the one kind of I can put image even there, then that will be go to database. But where is the location to for the file
That's a
reference
great
table?
question. I'm going to bring it up right now. All right.
Mhm.
So it's dependent on wherever you have your file storage. All right. Because when you did a decision, like when you installed Decisions, it asked for a file storage location and it put it there. Now, this is the default right here, what you're seeing. That's going to be under C, Program Files Decision Server. If you're running in a Windows environment, this is the default location of the file storage.
This is decision system folder, right? You are showing me this one.
This is
Like-
on whatever server is running Decisions.
Okay, server. Okay.
Yep, whatever server is running Decisions on it. That's where this is
Mhm.
going to be located. So this isn't on the client side. The client doesn't
Okay.
see this folder.
Okay.
And then it's under file storage, primary, and I want to say it's, is it flow data or data store? It's one of these two. I think it's flow data. So here's that format I was talking about, the first two digits, right? So if it starts
Mhm.
with 0 and then starts with 1, any of those files that you saved are going to be located in this particular area here.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So that's I saved from the from portal or I have to
You
my-
would to create this, you would create a flow that would save file references for you.
I have
You
to
have
do
two steps that allow you to do that. Let me show them to you right now. You've got what is it? Create
Oh.
file. No, that's not it. Give me a moment. Let me find it. It's under integration, internal services, call decisions, internal service, file reference service. And then it is, where is it? Create entity from file reference. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So that is the one that will allow you to specify the folder ID and the file reference. So the folder ID means that you're attaching it to an entity of some sort when it gets created. You can have multiple references per entity, by the way. You could have some entity and decisions, a folder, a rule, a flow that you attach this to. A folder probably would be the most preferable, honestly. Like a folder in decisions, I would say, hey, all images, right? All company logos, and they would all be associated in the portal with this particular folder. For example, let me delete this, delete this, delete this. And I'm going to loop this around real quick. So we're going to specify a folder ID. This is going to be a constant. The file reference, I'm going to hit constant. We're going to upload one ourselves. Actually, we're going to build data. We're going to give it a file name, test file. Oh, I should do load from file data. Hold on. So load from file data is the first step. It takes file data and it allows you to convert it to file reference. Loads it. And then over here, we're going to pass in the file reference object. And then over here, I'm going to put the image that we want. Give me a moment while I find one. I'm pretty sure I've got a Decisions logo somewhere. Hold on. Where'd it go? Looking for it. Give me a moment. Aha. I clicked the wrong thing. Hold on. There we go. Okay, and then folder ID. Let me go make a folder real quick so we can save this. Let's make it here. Create folder.
So it not have to be the public folder. It can be just inside your project.
That is exactly right. It does not have to be a public folder whatsoever. Get designer folder ID. That's what I'm looking for. I keep forgetting they made that like a separate thing. It used to be a sub process. Okay, and now we're gonna put that in there. Context current user, create from file data reference. We are going to debug this. It just got created, and then there's that ID right there. So I'm gonna copy that real quick.
Mhm. So we should go to that system folder.
Yes. So here, I'm going to move this over here. Decision server. Oh, wrong one. File storage, primary. I think it's flow data. And let's see. I copied that. It started with 7 and 8. So 7, 8. There it is. It got added today at 12:35 p.m.
Oh,
That's the image
yeah.
right there.
Yeah, so I can see there are two of them. One is information, one is byte.
Correct. So the info file gets generated for anything that you add to file storage in this way. And then the other one is the actual file itself.
Oh, so it,
Yep.
it will help to search if later if I want to search something, I can. Actually, that's doing with that info file, so I can search document.
I think it contains, let me confirm what the info file does. I'm not 100% sure, but you can search it by this ID right here. This is the ID that got generated for it. So you can always find it that way, right? So this is the
I
ID
see.
of the file reference as well. Now, remember, I added it to a folder, right? So if I go over here, there it is.
It is here, yes.
More, and then
Okay.
if I,
So I have file here, then I can use it from on form or on email. I should be able to use
you
that.
can use it on a form. Emails, I think, still require the template. I think you need the template for the email. So you would have to,
Yeah.
However, look at this. There is a, that's a download link. So let me confirm if that can be used as a pointer for the URL when you're talking about like trying to create the HTML page. That's the part I'm not certain about. I don't know if this can be used for that. However, you'll notice that if I download this, it's going to be exactly what I add in there. Also, if I right click and get that ID, that's the same. Hold on. This is the file reference ID. Give me a moment. I don't think that doesn't look right.
File reference.
7D. Let me check something real quick. Give me a moment. I'm checking something off screen. Okay. I'm still looking for it, but it's not data store, is it? No, it's not. Okay. Yeah, I don't think this is file reference entity ID. I don't think that's what we're looking for here. We're just looking for the file ID. But let me specify something here as well. I'm going to drop you a video that goes over all of pretty much everything that I've been talking about, honestly. It's a great resource for understanding this file storage and how it operates. So let me find that real quick.
Yeah, but I kind of clear with your suggestion. This is better way to manage our image, to just put this, upload it to the decision system through this form or workflow, stored in a folder. I think that's what's your suggestion. Maybe it's the best way to store our image, right? Use it.
This in the document. Hold on. Hold on. Give me a moment. Let me find this real quick.
But still, we can use the CSS way.
Yeah, CSS would get stored as a document automatically. The moment you upload CSS, it gets put into that document database. Yep, or document table inside of the database. Sorry, I don't know why this is taking so slow to load. Give me a moment.
Easily will be
all about decisions files. These are two, here are two great videos I'm going to give you about this real quick. So the first one goes over the actual file structure and goes into more depth about where these things get stored inside of the folder that I showed you.
You send it to the chat?
I'm about to. I'm about to. I'm trying to gather them both.
Okay.
So here is video number 1. This one is about the actual structure and where it's located. And then the other one goes into the actual differences between file data and file reference and how they function inside of decisions. Which also covers a little bit about documents, if I remember. But let me get that to you real quick here. Where did that go? Zoom is not liking me today. There we go. Okay, so those are going to be the two files that those are going to be the two videos that cover pretty a little bit more depth what I just talked about right here. For the email, if you want emails to look different with an image, you have to use an email template. Email template is pretty much the only way to do that. As far as actual like using CSS for forms and pages and stuff, that's where you can kind of change the different places of the file storage for those other options. But it might be advisable just to include all of it in the CSS as was kind of first mentioned, because you're going to have access to that CSS and allow for very dynamic and easy to grab and change out what a form looks like in the exact same process for different customers.
Yeah. So yeah, I think either way will be, but for our logo, it's kind of like a stable and not big size, small size. Maybe CSS is easy to use.
Right. And if it's just one logo you're trying to show over and over again, then yeah, probably just storing in the document table is not a bad idea for that, because you're not making a lot of rapid changes to that.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, please review the videos. I do recommend they'll give you a little bit more insight than what I've given you right now.
Sure. Thank you very much. I will definitely look at those videos.
Sure thing. And if you have any more questions, I'll be glad to answer them later, of course.
Thank you very much.
Sure thing. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. And with that being said, I don't really see anyone else that has joined, nor do I see any more questions. So I think we'll call it a little bit early. Look forward to seeing you all later. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.